You're listening to the Frosted Glass podcast. We're actually going to tackle a bit of a serious issue now, and that is the sexual molestation of mannequins. Ed, take it away.
Well, for the listener out there, this all stems back to where I live in Newtown. I was walking along the street,
It's
King
a haven for that kind of thing over there.
and I'm not going to mention the what do you call those shops where it's for
Brothels?
down and outers? They've got very cheap clothes. They sell old things like there's
An op shop.
DePaul's. Do we say that?
Yeah, all right.
That's the name of the shop. We're giving it away. But I did notice one of the workers inside it. He was male. He was putting a dress on this female mannequin. Mm-hmm. He put it over. The dress went to about knee length.
Okay.
But
He's a very conservative mannequin.
His hand continued down and he began to caress the calf of the female mannequin.
I see.
I saw this happen. I didn't know what to do, where to look.
You should have intervened.
I just, I had, obviously, because I'm from Newtown, I had my gelato in one hand.
Absolutely.
Gelato in one hand, my organic coffee in the other. I just threw them up in the air and ran away. Ran all the way back down to the south end of King Street where I feel safe.
Running away from an altercation. Vintage
Yes.
Newtown. So, I guess, what are your options you lay on the table? I'm just trying to empathise with you in this situation. If I saw a shop window worker molesting a mannequin, I think I would step in. Actually, I think I really would.
Well, here's my issue, mate. We're all very tough when we're, looking in hindsight. Like, if I saw that person getting robbed, I would have stepped in and beat the shit out of him. We're all very tough, mate. But here's my point. Until you've had somebody molest a mannequin directly in front of you, don't you dare tell me how to think.
The worst part is you paid him afterwards. A veterinary student who stitched the words "I love you" into the skin of a dog to impress his girlfriend could face the boot from university. I guess my question to you would be, is that a fair punishment for someone that stitched the words "I love you" into a dog?
My big issue, though, with this, the biggest problem is he's going in too hard. He's coming off as a bit of a keno.
It is a bit of an all or nothing play, isn't it?
I love it. Maybe just a cheeky, want to get a coffee after this dog surgery.
Use it as a platform, is what you're saying.
Build up.
Yeah.
Don't go in for the kill right away. If there's anything I've learned in my years of courting women,
It's not a lot, is it?
it's absolutely don't listen to me when it comes to any advice on the topic.
Try to avoid, where possible, mutilating animals.
Try to avoid the phrase courting women as well. Unless you're some sort of 1920s baron, just don't say the phrase courting women.
That is definitely at the top of the list. Welcome back to the Frosted Glass with Adam and Ed. Now, we're talking big stories, which is why we're talking triple-breasted women.
Thank you.
A woman who's making headlines around the world for adding a third breast
Yes.
to her chest.
Excellent.
Obviously had some self-esteem issues, I assume. But in the wake of this, a gentleman has come out and claimed that he was kept as a sex slave to said triple-breasted woman.
I mean, as a man, you have a bucket list, and if that's not on the top of your bucket list to be kept as a sex slave by a triple-breasted woman,
You need to revise that bucket list.
then that things need to go up there.
Obviously, if you saw a woman with 3 breasts,
Yes.
you're probably going to wander in her direction just for pure curiosity value,
Yes.
I would have thought.
Yes. Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, yes, you would be looking at that thinking, might better have a look.
Better take a closer examination of that.
That is how my inner psyche would be talking to me as
And
well.
I'm sure every man who read this story initially straight away just thought of Total Recall.
Yeah, of course.
It's the ultimate sort of Hollywood pop culture cliff note when it comes to triple-breasted women.
the triple-breasted whore of a manticon.
You're listening to the Frosted Glass podcast. Now, Dennis Martin, 49, has managed to completely transform his dark basement in Helena, Alabama into an authentic 1950s era log cabin. Using mostly raw materials, the man completely transformed his house, even mounting a deer head above the fireplace and an assortment of replica guns placed around the room. It took the man 6 weeks to build this home.
Mate, are you sure you're not just reading the back of a National Lampoon's video cassette. So it sounds a lot like something Chevy Chase would do.
It does sound very similar, doesn't it?
I love Little House on the Prairie as much as the next guy. This may be taking it a bit too far.
But I guess it begs the question, this man was attempting to get some peace and quiet and decided to convert his basement into what looks to be Donald Trump's house. I mean, it's just a series of carcasses and guns. Too far?
Well, mate, I think there's midlife crises and there's midlife crises, I should say. And there is, and then there's this. I mean, why didn't you just go out and buy some sort of ridiculous sports car, buy a wig,
become the slave of a triple-breasted woman?
We all have options in life.
We do.
We all have options in life. I don't know about this. This sounds like maybe he wasn't connecting with his kids in the way he thought he'd like to.
Or maybe he was connecting in a sort of sinister way.
Possibly.
And this was his sort of disguise.
Yeah, this is certainly what people are going to talk about when they go to his house.
I wanted to know, if you were to do something, you wanted to create a man cave in your house. This person's gone for 1950s style log cabin. What would Edward Archibald Digby look for?
I'd go for more something from the medieval times.
Cat o' nine tails?
Yes, just very poor plumbing, pissing in a bucket in the corner.
You feel like you're describing your actual house.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah, that was kind of more what I was going for. I'd put people in stocks.
Yeah. So you're saying that the torture chamber that you currently live in is sort of intentional?
I'm thinking more sex dungeon now.
Okay. Thinking Fritzl. You wouldn't call yourself a tall man, would you?
Well,
I mean, you shouldn't. You'd be lying.
I was once a tall man, I'd like to think.
Did you shrink?
Well, when I was about 13, I reached the height of 6 foot. To which I've remained for the last 17 years.
Is that a legitimate story? Did you really reach 6 foot at 13?
Maybe 14.
You would have been a
talking.
giant.
I was pretty tall.
Yeah, right.
That was tall back then for kids. Have you seen kids now? They're just
huge.
stupidly huge.
I think they're putting something in their food.
Quite possibly. But you are somebody who was in that height range.
I am, mate. I'm for the listeners at home. I am 6'5", roughly, which is sort of bordering on your mutant tall range.
It's just a bit too tall. I've often thought that when we've been out somewhere.
You know, you say that, but it pulls in the ladies.
Does it really?
Well, I don't, but people in my height do.
Oh, right, you've seen it happen.
Yeah,
with
I've seen
other
it
people.
happen, and I have a good vantage point.
So I've sort of been around you when you've sort of gone up to those. It's sort of like Lurch strolling along, and you've got sort of the warmth of the Lurch character as well when you do talk to women.
Foolishly, I lead him with a lot of Lurch lines like "you rang," and obviously that doesn't go down so well. So, look, it has its drawbacks, mate. But I just wanted to talk about, I guess, the pros and cons.
Well, that's good, mate. And to find out some of the pros and cons, I actually put it to my students.
Is this
right?
It's
best. I thought I'd give a homework task.
Is this the best use of sort of educational resources?
Well, we're certainly not naming my school. But I thought I'd give out a homework task to find out advantages and disadvantages of being tall. And I thought I'd see, maybe from people who are the height of about 3 feet tall, maybe what their perspectives on the whole matter could be. Okay. Obviously, they can only speculate.
Do they see you as a sort of an ogre type?
Only with my physical appearance, nothing to do with my height. So that's how we are. But mate, let's start on a positive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to put forward some advantages, and I want you to tell me if you've had any experience with these advantages. If they are indeed correct, we could debunk them.
Please do.
Or confirm. That was my pen clicking because I'm going to tick or cross these off as we go along.
Excellent.
Just for my own
you
future.
You are old school.
My own future being. So, first one, you can reach high.
This is true.
Right.
I'm not going to debunk that. A tall person can reach high. But I'm going to say that it's a disadvantage because I'm not sure if any other tall people have had the same experience as I have. But essentially, you become somewhat of a glorified ladder for people. If you go shopping...
They climb on you?
Well, some have.
Right. If there's a burning building, you have to stand up beside the window for people to crawl down.
Yeah, on those occasions when I walk past a towering inferno, I become quite useful. But just take an everyday situation. The supermarket, for example.
Okay, yes.
People feel inclined to ask you to get things from the top shelf.
Yes.
Like you're some tool.
Is that an issue maybe at video stores when you have to get the top shelf videos down for people and you've got armfuls of midget porn? And that excuse of they're not for me doesn't really fly.
It doesn't wash.
Okay, mate. Okay, well, good. I can give that a bit of a tick. or across, whatever.
What is this grading system? Am I trying to pass or?
It's Napland, mate. You wouldn't understand.
Ah.
Okay, now the next one, mate. I can incorporate the next two advantages that were written by said student. I'm not going to name the student for embarrassment purposes. Look handsome and be a fashion model. They could be two possible advantages. I certainly have my thoughts of you in this kind of area.
Well, look, obviously I've had experience in both being handsome and being a fashion model.
Right.
And I think my height has had something to do with it. Yeah. Also think I have very symmetrical pecs.
Okay, what about walking fast? What about walking fast?
Yeah, look, I think that's a bit of a misnomer, that the tall walk fast. I mean, we have longer legs, but it's more of a lope.
Okay.
And, everything the taller you get, the slower things become.
Right.
I don't know if you're aware of that or not.
I
Because
know
I'm a fair bit taller than you.
As far as the slowness goes, I've noticed it conversationally.
Look, it sometimes becomes cognitive.
And career progression-wise, I've noticed it for you as well.
Yeah, look, these are unrelated factors.
Oh, sorry, mate.
Sorry, there's no need to
get
trample
personal
on my professional career like that.
Okay, mate. Well, we've talked about the advantages. We've got through the good things, but of course, there's another side of the coin. Disadvantages: bed too small. This is written by.
Is that one of your? Yeah. Well, you know what? True story. I did have a bed once bought for me because I really wanted a bunk bed.
Yeah.
But I was a bit too old for it to be ordering a bunk bed. I was in my teenage years, and
why did you want a bunk bed?
I just always wanted one and never had one.
Okay.
And so even though there was no one else to take the different levels, I just wanted a bunk bed. Yeah. Anyway, ordered it online, got it home, assembled it. I was too big.
Ordered it online.
Yes.
This sounds like a recent thing. I don't know. You've been able to order bunk beds online for a whole lot of years.
The internet's been around since the 90s, mate.
But even if this is 10 years, which I'm assuming when you could start ordering things, that would make you, what, 21 back then?
I was... Why would you have to do the maths on this?
Sorry, mate.
I've already told you I was too old.
Just trying to get to the bottom of this.
I'm glad you got to the nub.
But you said teenage years, and I have a feeling that maybe you're even lying about that.
I mean, 19, something like that.
What is that? Was that one for the girls to sleep under? Was that not a concern?
This is another reason. Those bunks didn't see a lot of action. I can tell you that. But the worst
that's the reason. Yeah.
The worst part about it is it's a really demeaning feeling when your dad has to get a welding iron and sort of saw off the edge of the bed so you can fit on it.
So your feet could stick over.
So my feet could stick over the edge because they had these bars.
Like some sort of dead body in a morgue, kind of, with just the toes sticking
like
over.
Like daddy long legs in a very small jar.
Okay, what about bumping into door frames? Is that a concern as well? This is all straight from this student, by the way. This has been nothing that I have
I hope you
conjured up.
Or her. Yes, I have bumped into door frames before. This is the worst part. Public transport's a bit of an issue when you're very tall. Mm-hmm. And often in peak hour you won't get a seat.
Yep.
Which is sitting down is a good way to disguise your extreme height.
Okay.
But when you're standing, it's a bit laid out.
Is that an issue on the trains and you have to stand up and hold one of those dildo-esque kind of blue things that hang from the roof?
It is a bit of a problem. And the worst part is when you're in that standing area and you're so tall you can't fit underneath the roof without squatting. So you kind of give off that impression during peak hour that you're constipated.
Okay, that could be a concern, particularly with your issues around constipation as well.
Well, it's certainly not...
You want to hide them on it,
It's not a good look. Yeah. It's not a good look, is it?
Do you find it an issue that you're so tall that you'll put your hand up on a handrail to hold on to it, then people near you will hold on to your arm as a handrail because that's the next highest?
That does happen. People get very grabby on the train, I find, especially when you're very tall. And you're sort of treated as sort of this implement.
Yes.
For stability.
You do wear very tight clothes though as well. Do you think maybe you're giving them the wrong idea?
Possibly. But I tell you what, there's a hell of a handle. Welcome back to the Frosted Glass podcast. We're going to head off now to our words of wisdom with our perennial agony aunt or uncle. I haven't checked. Edward Archibald Digby. I
like to think that I cross both of those. I'd like to describe myself as gender neutral when it comes to giving advice.
Okay. Or hermaphrodite.
Whichever. I prefer gender neutral. Hermaphrodite sort of sounds more like something from the...
Makes you sound like a jellyfish.
Well, from the Stone Ages. Anyway, Adam, I'm not a rich man, I'd like to say.
I can tell from your shabby clothes.
More of a fair man. That is how I describe myself, a fair man.
Okay.
Not a rich man, but Adam, I have indulged in hiring a house cleaner of late.
Okay. Any particular reason?
Laziness.
Okay.
Pure laziness.
Do you really need a cleaner? Because you own about 9 things.
Absolutely not. I've, well, for, listeners out there, I have recently moved in with a lady.
Ooh.
I've taken a lady. It makes me sound predatory. Not meant to. And she did go away for 2 weeks recently overseas, and I was charged with the job of... Charged?
Police. It does a little bit, doesn't it? It's a hostile relationship.
Yeah, it was very hostile. I was, put in charge is a better way. Put in charge of actually cleaning the place, and I just thought, yeah, this isn't going to happen.
Okay. So you look to outsource it immediately.
I certainly looked to outsource it. So I did that task without her knowing, of course. The cleaners came around, the 3 very nice ladies.
So you didn't just get one cleaner, you got 3 of them.
Well,
you ordered a team of cleaners.
I didn't mean to order a team.
Okay.
They didn't have to cordon off anything.
Did you hit the wrong number online when you ordered it?
I thought I was ordering something else. They came over, did a great job of cleaning the place, but there's a bit of an awkwardness when there's people cleaning your house and you have to stay in the house. You just can't sit anywhere because they're sort of cleaning around you and it feels very odd. But it really hit home that I should have been doing it myself when I saw them vacuuming right around my vacuum cleaner.
So wait, they brought their own vacuum cleaner. They brought everything.
They had like a thing you put on your back, like a backpack, like some sort of Ghostbusters type deal.
Take their vacuuming very seriously.
They certainly, and let me just say, for the money I paid, it was definitely worth it. I think it was $80 or something, and they just
How powerful does a vacuum cleaner need to be? They'd suck up the shag.
If only. They did a great job, I must say. Way better than I would have done it all. And so, of course, my girlfriend came back, saw how great the place was, and was like,
"You're a domestic god."
No, it was more, "This isn't you."
So she picked it out immediately.
Wrong. There was no way I could sort of get around it. I thought it would be endearing that I had sort of gone to this effort to impress her, but it was more along the lines of, "What are you wasting money on that? Do it yourself."
Yeah, right.
You're lazy.
Did you come clean immediately, or did you try to claim that it was you that sort of buffed the brass clocks and that kind of thing?
Well, luckily for me, Adam, naturally I'm a strong silent type, sort of Don Draper-esque when it comes to, certainly not in the mistress sense, but more that I'm a closed book, mate. It's very hard to understand sort of what I'm thinking, get to the bottom of it.
I've always thought that about you.
Have you?
Yeah.
Mysterious. My question to you, Adam, is... I understand you're probably from you're from the eastern suburbs here. You had quite an affluent life growing up, naturally.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
From this area, I just assume you did.
Okay.
Have there been times when you've particularly felt rich?
Mate, no, I don't think I've ever really felt rich per se. I think the closest I've ever come to what you would call opulence was dominating at Monopoly. But yeah, in fact, this is a true story. I've been around your house once because you've been known to use cleaners in the past. And I've been around there when they've come in. And you do sort of sit your feet up put your feet on the ottoman and sort of sit back and watch them all dust and clean and polish around you like you're sort of little Lord Fauntleroy. I think you do sort of like the idea that there are servants around you. Right. You prefer them to be ethnic. I don't know why. Perhaps it gives you that sort of feeling of old Imperial England, when you're in one of the colonies.
Mate, you're the bloody blue blood here, apparently. So
apparently
I don't know who you're pouring this on to.
It's very defensive.
You're listening to the Frosted Glass Podcast.